Welcome into Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts with CPA and personal financial specialist Phil Putney. Now let's get rolling with today's show. It's summertime, Phil. Summertime. And time
right.
to beaches and with beach blanket bingo. Well, I'm taking it way back for some people. That's even older than I am, right? So, but let's talk about like when summertime comes around, like vacation planning. You still want to kind of keep things in check, right? Whenever we're doing the holiday fun stuff, because as we all know, people spend more time planning their holidays than they do their retirement.
Their retirement, yeah, a lot of times
right?
they do.
Right. So let's kind of maybe talk.
Not a good thing.
Probably not a good thing, right? So let's talk a little bit about maybe a guilt-free way of doing that a little bit this week here on the podcast, and see if we can help some people with stuff. Do you get those questions sometimes when people are doing the planning process? Do they say, "Hey, how can you help us work through like a couple of these bigger items that we want to do, the big fun items, I should say?"
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean that's part of the discussion and kind of building out what does retirement look like. I mean, it's you've got the basics.
Yeah.
What does it cost to be you just to live?
Yeah, we're all worried about do we have enough, but then you want to do the fun stuff
but
too.
then it's beyond that. It's like, okay, what's your vision of fun? Is travel for a lot of people? That's a big part of it. They want to do travel. Others it's not. Maybe so kind of depends on the person. But yeah, for a lot of people, travel is on the list for sure.
Is it a separate category for some people, or is it it's in the main need section for some people too?
No, generally we no matter where their position is on it, we always budget it separately.
Okay.
Just because it's different, right? I mean, the base level of just being you, I mean, it is what it is. It's whatever that number is in index for inflation. But
sure. Yeah.
A lot of times with travel, it early on in retirement, there might be more. You've had all these big bucket list trips, maybe that you've wanted to do, and the big celebration of retirement. So planning more, and every client's a little different. That's part of the discussion of what does that vision look like for you? What do you and I always tell them, I mean, we're not making a decision today for the next 30 years that we can't change. It's it's what's your idea? What does this look like?
Okay, yeah, because it's obviously that retirement is a long phase, hopefully, ideally, right?
Yep.
And so I guess for some people, right, I mean, we've talked about it a million times, but I guess a lot of people will come in and say, look, all right, we're getting close to retirement. Let's plan the big holiday fun type things, not just running down to the beach or running up to one of the lakes, right, for the weekend.
Right.
Not like that, but we're in the go years, so let's plan for some of that stuff, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got a client right now I'm working with that their big celebration is they're taking all their kids on a cruise. And the way they cruise, it's not at the inside cabins. I mean, they like to get at some of the higher level suites. So I mean, it's a pretty pricey trip. But I mean,
sure,
again,
I bet, yeah.
It's all about what's in your budget and does it work? So it's one of those things. Trips like that are one of those things you want to plan for and have the discussion ahead of time, not to decide now that I think in August I think we're going to take this massive cruise and spend $40,000. So maybe it may work, may not work in your budget. So
you work so you build some of those bigger things in the go. What about the slow go, right? So that's that second phase where we're starting to slow down. Does that become more a bit on the whim, or is that still hey, let's plan some of that out?
And again, it depends on the client. We have some clients that, they'll say, okay, for the go years, let's say the next 10 years, I mean, they'll budget 20, 30,000, whatever the number is for travel a year.
Okay.
And then it just stops, we think by then we'll probably be traveled out, because a lot of things in life, and we talked about this with other hobbies, golf, right? I mean, you think, oh, this would be great. I love golf, and if I could golf every day, that would be incredible.
Right.
So do that every day for 3 years, and you're probably going to say, yeah, I think I'm done with that.
Right.
You get kind of sick of it. I mean, same thing with travel, for some people, others maybe not. But it is common to plan in those go years, the first 10 years, 15, kind of depends on what that client's vision is.
Okay.
For a lot higher travel level, maybe a couple of bigger trips during that time too, where they're wanting to do some beyond the normal, just 2-3 cruises a year or whatever their vision is for vacations. Because I mean, retirement, it's permanent vacation now. So
exactly.
So it's not like you're having to schedule time off and do all that. So
well, okay. So if you're talking about like putting a big bucket together, so to speak, and when you're done, like, okay, hey, we feel like we're traveled out, we're getting older, we're getting closer to the no-go phase. What do you do with the money then? Do you roll that back into the future retirement needs, or do you kind of maybe allocate that towards more of the medical in the no-go, or how does that look?
Well, we actually just budget it out that way all the way through retirement. So we'll plan as we're running the math for the longer term retirement, call it 20,000 a year for the first 10 years.
Okay.
And then maybe that client says, yeah, I think by then we'll probably cut it back. So maybe we'll do another, 10,000 for the next 10 years.
Gotcha.
And then beyond that, just there's not going to be travel. I'm going to be in my 80s by then. Probably not going to want to be lugging suitcases around and getting on airplanes. And,
right.
They'll be beyond that, phase at that point.
Yeah.
So medical, that's a whole nother line item though, that we budget for separately.
Gotcha. Okay.
So again, here's kind of the base level. And, what are those one-offs, so to speak, or separate categories you would want to plan for? So,
all right. So if we're talking about how to like enjoy travel in the summer season and stuff without some of that guilt, let's talk about the fact that husbands and wives or couples or whatever, configuration you're dealing with, they don't always see eye to eye on things, right? So
this is very true.
what happens when the topic of travel, right? So is not equal, right? So it's like one person wants to go, the other one maybe doesn't, So like my wife travels a lot for work and I don't go anywhere. So, she talks often about she wants me to go see some places with her, but at the same time, she talks often about wanting to do nothing and just be at home and enjoy.
Be at home.
So I can see a potential thing coming where it's like, hey, I want to go do stuff now because you got to go do a lot of stuff. And she's like, right. So that's going to be
already been there, seen that.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way, right? So how do you work through some of those things? What's some things that you might recommend or some things to ponder?
Well, that's where I have to put on my counselor hat versus the financial advisor hat.
Right.
Kind of switching back and forth. But it's a great point to bring up ahead of time, right? And have those discussions. Like with many things in retirement, there's going to be a lot of these decisions that you don't want to get to that very point and then have it be stressful for one or both parties because now what was supposed to be a fun event, you're planning this trip and you're all stressed out because you can't agree and you've been arguing over it. So have those discussions ahead of time and understand where kind of each party is in that scenario. Hey, if the one party is more just a stay at home, well, maybe tame it down, but then they really need to come to the table too for the other person in the relationship that maybe they haven't had those events and they really would like to go see a couple of different places. So,
well, I imagine too, there could be a bit of a pickle. And I know that times have changed a lot over the last number of years you've been doing this, but like the saver in the relationship could be like, hey, I have really had to work hard to make us both save to get this nest egg where it's at. And now you want to go spend it. And so you maybe take it a little personally sometimes when it's maybe not the intent. It's like, well, no, we all want us to spend it together, enjoying things together. But you could kind of see where, again, depending on the personality type, it could be cause for tension.
Yeah, it happens, because they, have traveled a lot and, don't want to really travel more. Some it's because maybe they're that saver that, very concerned, we can't spend that kind of money. That's just crazy. We need it for retirement. And that's where a financial advisor can really help lay out the numbers, here's the math that we've built it in. We've already planned for you doing, trips at 20,000 or whatever it is a year. It works.
Okay.
So go ahead and do it. Don't let that finance hold you back. And it's, common with a lot of people as they get to retirement, especially those that have been savers, right? Because they've been used to saving all their life. They don't touch that money, just, let it grow. And now you get to retirement and there's no more income coming in and you're starting to spend it. And it's like, wait, I'm not supposed to touch that. I've been trained for 25, 30 years to not touch the money.
That's a great point. The training does the repetition does kind of kick in and makes you kind of have a hard time with it. Well, all right. So this is really foreign to me. So, I suck at like planning, right? So it's like, day to day, with everything that's happened, everybody's life is different, right? Other things that happen to you and so on and so forth. Yep. So I do not put a lot of like forethought into looking way ahead on things like trips, for example, right? So to me, this is so I hear conversations feel like the 1 year planning concept for travel and for fun in retirement that leads to surprises. 3 to 4 years leads to better decisions. The concept of planning 3 years out for a vacation seems mind-boggling to me. But do you have people that actually prefer to operate that way, and how do you help?
Yeah, and usually those are more kind of on the big items, right? I mean,
sure,
if you're planning some larger trips,
the 50th anniversary cruise, or whatever.
Yeah, or the big retirement celebration, and you want to take all the kids with you. Well, it's not just you now; it's you and everyone else and their schedules, and so it's a much bigger event to plan. So you can't just up and tell everyone, hey, you know what? Come in August, we're going to wherever it is. As much as they might like to do it, maybe it's not going to work. They've already
that's what I get yelled at for. I'm like, I get an idea, and it's like, hey, why don't we do this in 2 weeks? And it's
jump
like,
in the car.
It's like, well, we can't get everything together in 2 weeks. It's like, why not? So
sure we can. Yeah, and everyone's a little different. I mean, in travel, there definitely has to be some planning.
Okay.
There's some types of trips and events that you're making reservations a year or more out anyways, just to do it. So if that is really something you want to do, well, you have to get it on the calendar and start the planning to at least get some reservations in play.
The Tax Smart Retiree is your comprehensive guide to mastering tax efficiency for a flourishing retirement. You will find indispensable advice and actionable strategies designed to enhance tax savings, maximize Social Security benefits, protect against market volatility, and develop a customized retirement plan. To get your free ebook, click the link in the show notes of today's episode and download your copy of the Tax Smart Retiree right now.
Yeah, I mean, not like a quick trip up to Traverse City or,
this isn't like, hey,
Mackinac, right?
What do you want to do this weekend? So
right, yeah. Again, more like, hey, let's go to Italy, or if you live, in Traverse City and you want to go to Florida for a month, right? You got to plan that a little bit more, I suppose, right?
Yeah, so there's certain trips like that do take a little bit more planning. I mean, I've got a lot of clients that camp. They're Michigan, so they get out of here in the winter times and they'll camp. And for them, they're spending a lot of time just making reservations, because I've got a few of the couples that will stay at state parks. Well, state parks typically have a 2-week stay.
Yeah.
So after 2 weeks, you got to move. You got to find someplace else. So there's a lot of planning that goes into that kind of a trip, because you've got to figure out, I'm here, so what's around that area, or where am I going next for the next 2 weeks, and kind of get reservations. And
trippy. I was having this conversation, Phil, 6 years since the great RV explosion, thanks to COVID, right? And there is RVs for sale everywhere.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. People have realized, maybe this wasn't such a great thing.
They bought it, did it for a while when they thought they were going to be locked down, and were locked down in different places. But so that's a whole other thing right now. Where if you're looking for an RV, there's probably some good prices out there.
Yeah, so you probably get a pretty decent deal.
Yeah,
you just have to be careful of the units you're buying, because as with many things during that COVID timeframe, quality sometimes it was a concern.
Very true. Vehicles as well, right? As we all know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Especially for retirees, Phil, travel costs that tend to catch people off guard. Some things to think about.
Yeah, I mean, you plan ahead. Do your research ahead of time, especially if you're going to foreign countries or somewhere you're used to, right? Plan what that budget might be. What you might think is $20,000 when you really start digging in and doing your research on what's there. Maybe there's different things that you want to see. If you're going to travel all the way to, let's say, Europe, Italy, whatever it is, I mean, you're going to want to see certain things, I would assume.
Right.
So do some research, figure out what as long as you're there, I mean, that's half the cost right there, getting there. So let's do whatever you want to do while you're there to make it an eventful and memorable vacation. So with that in mind, I mean, it all then translates back to what the cost is in that budget. If you budgeted $20,000, let's say, for travel for the year, you don't want to have 3 other trips planned and go on this one and blow 2/3 of the budget and realize, well, I guess we're done. Or can we afford to spend more this year?
Yeah.
So that is where, again, planning ahead from a cost standpoint is going to be helpful, but also just making sure that you get the events or the locations and the sites that you want to see. You've got those reservations made and figure out what it is you want to do.
Budget a tad higher for those unexpected expenses.
Yep.
And grandparent costs too, right? So I think that's one that a lot of people gotta. You probably got that, Phil, right?
That's a whole nother line item when you get into retirement,
right?
You know,
just go ahead and budget for the fact that we're going to have to help the grandkids a little bit. As yours are all still fairly young, but as they get bigger, it's going to be a higher cost.
The toys just get more and more expensive.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, we're going to go on this trip, Grandpa. Can you cover my flight? Or can you cover my whatever? Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's funny. We're already having some of those discussions, talking to other clients too, with their grandkids, and because they've taken their grandkids on a vacation or two, and
right.
And now that was fun, Grandma and Grandpa. Where are we going next? It's like, whoa, wait a minute. This is like a one-time deal, right? Maybe once every 10 or so years. Grandma and Grandpa are going on,
Yeah, that's a great point, though, Phil. Right? Maybe that needs to, if you've got a larger family or something like that, and especially for people that have a close-knit family, maybe setting some of those ground rules and expectations is a good idea too.
Right. Or, the other thing too, to realize and to think about is, at the end of the day, what is the purpose of the money, right? What's your goal long term? If you're running your scenarios and looking at the math and you're going to end up leaving a sizable estate at the end, is that really what you want to do?
And then maybe you could plan more trips. Yeah.
To make more memories than leave this, significant asset at the end. That is always nice to maybe help the kids later. But if you think about the stage of life they're in when that happens, typically.
It's a good point. Yeah.
They're going to be in their 60s and 70s probably when you've passed away. So do they really need that large chunk of money?
Yeah.
It might be better to build those memories with them and then your grandkids today and kind of help everyone enjoy it, make the memories.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? So it's like, again, the point of a review and an evaluation and stress testing your scenarios is like, okay, look, some things have changed. Here's what we've done. Here's some things, we're looking at. You guys are going to be sitting on a good amount. Do you want to consider more family travel or whatever the case might be? Or the opposite, right? Things aren't looking so good. So instead of the 6 trips you had for the family, it might only be 3, or whatever. So.
And it's that balance. It's, because I've got clients on both sides of that fence. Some are very conservative, not spending anywhere near what they could. Others is like, okay, wait, we got to slow this down a little bit. Retirement, I'm glad you're enjoying it, but this is not going to work long term. So we've got to readjust here. So,
yeah, for sure.
And it's hard, right? It's a whole change.
It's a whole change.
From working, day in and day out for, years on end. And this is retirement. You want to enjoy it. Absolutely enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
But you don't want to get 10 years into it and realize, I think we enjoyed it a little bit too much, and now we're in trouble.
right.
Now I got to go to work at Walmart.
Yeah. Well, look, we don't save for decades to just sit at home and protect every dollar, or maybe you do because everybody is different. But again, strategy, planning, a little bit of foresight can go a long way to helping you, kind of get the things that you're out of it. And it's not just you. Don't forget that, right? It's you and your significant other, and then, the loved ones around you that you want to make those memories with. So in order to have that guilt-free holiday as summer's upon us, just make sure that you've got a strategy in place and a plan in place, especially if you're approaching retirement or are into retirement. It's never too late to go through and make some changes and get a second opinion or tweak the plan or whatever the case is. So as always, if you need help, reach out to Phil. He does this day in and day out for tons and tons and tons of clients. So give him a jingle, reach out to him online. We got links in the show descriptions below here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and of course here on YouTube. You can click those links or you can just go to philstaxhacks.com. Pretty easy to remember, philstaxhacks.com, or you can call the number on the screen, 248-888-7530 if you're listening in audio form. Phil, my friend, thanks for breaking it down. And I know you're going to be doing some travel yourself probably here with
the that time of year.
That time of year. So have some fun. We'll see you next time here on Phil's Tax Hacks and other retirement facts.
Take care.
Phil? Investment advisory services offered through AFS Wealth Management. The content of this program is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. Investments and or investment strategies involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will achieve its objectives.